US CPI, Eurozone bond trouble, Shanghai back in lockdown. What's moving markets? The US releases patron inflation information for May, amid expectancies that the headline annual fee will stay stuck at 8.3%. Eurozone bond markets are in a mess as they are attempting to come to terms with the European Central Bank's plans to raise hobby charges. Oil prices upward thrust after U.S. lawmakers introduce an invoice increasing the variety of sanctions in opposition to Russia. Amazon ducks out of an luxurious race for cricket broadcasting rights in India, and one half of Shanghai is lower back below restrictive measures after government determined a sparkling outbreak of COVID-19. Here's what you need to realize in monetary markets on Friday, June 10. 1. U.S. CPI set to stick at 8.3% at an RSQUO, a massive day for inflation. The U.S. will report its Consumer Charge Index for May at 8:30 a.m. ET, 12:30 GMT. While at an RSQUO's now not the Fed and RSQUO's desired rate degree, the personal consumption fees basket higher displays the spending styles of a broader section of the population. At an RSQUO's still going to seize headlines on Capitol Hill and around the U.S. Analysts anticipate prices to have risen 0.7% at the month, an acceleration from April due to fuel fees resuming an upward trend. This is nevertheless intact within the middle of June. The year-on-year charge is however anticipated to stay at 8.3%, as greater of closing 12 months and RSQUO's charge surge passes out of the calculations. The and LSQUO, core CPI and RSQUO, degree, which strips out more volatile meals and electricity elements, is anticipated to have moderated, by way of comparison. So an N-all an RSQUO's correct if you don an RSQUO, eat or force. 2. Eurozone bonds in a mess as ECB details fee hike plans. The euro fell, as did bond fees around the Eurozone outer edge, on the prospect of the European Central Bank raising hobby costs in a slowing economic surroundings. At her press convention on Thursday, ECB President Christine Lagarde declined to offer any concrete detail as to how the ECB intends to preserve bond yield spreads inside an appropriate range because it embarks on its first economic tightening in 11 years. By assessment, she gave surprisingly targeted guidance with reference to the root of interest costs, which can be 75 basis factors higher via the give-up of September. 3. Stocks set to open combined after Thursday sell-off. Amazon reportedly ducks cricket venture. U.S. inventory markets are set to open combined as members undertake a cautious wait-and-see posture in advance of the important things CPI release. The number comes a week after a Exertions market report that still pointed to a very good degree of momentum within the financial system. Stocks probably to be in consciousness later include Walt Disney NYSE, DIS, which fired its head of TV on Thursday and which additionally capabilities in some other of the day and RSQUO's massive company tales. It and RSQUO's nonetheless engaged in a $7.7 billion bidding warfare for broadcasting rights to the Indian Premier League cricket match, in assessment to Amazon, Nasdaq, AMZN, which has decided to preserve its coins in its pocket, in line with an RSQUO's resources. DocuSign, Nasdaq, Docu, will also be at the radar, down 25% in pre-market after a horrific earnings miss overdue on Thursday. 4. Shanghai reintroduces some lockdown measures after locating more COVID-19 instances. The metropolis of Shanghai placed over half of its inhabitants underneath COVID-19 measures once more, best multiple weeks after ending a 2-month lockdown that had caused vast social unrest and a sharp drop-off in monetary activity. The authorities have ordered PCR trying out for all citizens in 14 of Shanghai's 16 districts over the weekend, suggested. The news got here too overdue to disturb a persisted rally in Chinese stocks, that have responded enthusiastically to signs and symptoms of the authorities easing up on its marketing campaign towards era giants this week. They have been in addition recommended by means of a drop in manufacturer and customer rate inflation in May, prompting hopes that the valuable bank will be a touch bolder with its monetary easing subsequent week. 5. Oil up as GOP lawmakers introduce secondary sanctions bill on Russian electricity sector. Crude oil charges rose again on Friday after the threat of an LSQUO, secondary sanctions with the aid of the U.S. at the Russian energy industry ramped up a notch. U.S. Republican congressmen introduced a bill that might bar federal groups from handling all people who nonetheless has enterprise ties to sanctioned Russian entities, in an echo of the measures that have crippled Iran and RSQUO's and Venezuela and RSQUO's oil industries in recent years. Figures from the United Arab Emirates to India have warned the U.S.